Strickland and the top 5 biggest upsets in title fights in UFC history. So, do you want to go first or should I go first? Or should we go one at a time? How do we do this?
Right. You go say one. Let's start with your number 5.
Let me just say some honorable mentions first, yeah?
Okay.
So TJ Dillashaw versus Renan Barao. When I saw that, I was shocked because TJ kind of, he didn't look like that world beater at the time, and then he just came in and just, completely outclassed Barao.
Yeah.
Then Cody Garbrandt versus Dominic Cruz. That's an honorable mention for me. So that's an honorable mention because Cody just outclassed him, and Cruz was like the greatest bantamweight of the time, or at the time, of all time even. Then I got Nunes Pena as well as an honorable mention. I got Rose versus Joanna, and I got Grasso versus Shevchenko. Those 3 because of the odds. Those odds are crazy, but I haven't put them in my top 5. So, do you want to go with your number 5 first?
Okay. My number 5 for upsets in UFC history title fights is Adesanya versus Strickland.
Okay.
I thought it would be higher initially, but then when I started doing some research, I was thinking, do you know what? There's been some worse ones.
Okay.
And if you break it down, Adesanya has lost recently. Yeah. Strickland isn't necessarily a bum who's come out of nowhere. We've known that Strickland has good defensive skills. And I think the reason there was so much surprise was down to lazy thinking by most people. We just thought, is he better striker than Strickland? This should be fairly straightforward. Yeah. But I think if people took a little bit more time to think about each fighter's skills, then we may have been more cautious. Yeah. Who you got as number 5?
As number 5, I got Anderson Silva versus Chris Weidman.
That's low as number 5?
Number 5. The reason I have that as number 5 is because I think Anderson Silva, when he did that slip, he got caught. It was shocking to see, but I think if Anderson had a real game plan that night, he should have won that.
Yeah, well, I've got Silva versus Weidman at number 4.
We'll get that, yeah.
Silva, I can't see a world where Adesanya and Strickland is a bigger upset than Silva versus Weidman.
Yeah.
Because Silva was a dominant champion.
It's true.
He hadn't lost, whereas we've seen Adesanya lose twice.
Yeah.
But we hadn't really seen Silva show a lot of mortality. The closest he got to losing was Chael Sonnen before that.
It is more shocking, but I have.
So fuck you.
I have Adesanya and Strickland at number 4. The reason I put that over is because I'm so shocked at the way Strickland did it. If Strickland was just going to catch him and knock him out in round 1, I would have been like, okay, fine. But he went on to beat him in a 5-round decision, which I don't think anyone guessed, which is even more shocking than a flash knockout, in my opinion.
Okay, we've discussed 4 and 5. Tiebreaker. Luke, out of those 2 fights, which one is more shocking?
I'm siding with Farhan on this one.
Really?
Yeah, I think more because it's prolonged outclassing, right?
And also, Chris Weidman was actually unbeaten at the time.
But isn't that literally the definition of upset?
Yes, it is upset.
Like someone just getting fucked up.
But Strickland is like, who saw it? Like number 5 ranked, got knocked out by Alex Pereira, had some ups and downs, and then he goes on to outclass Adesanya. I have to put that over. But this is our opinions, by the way. This is how I felt at the time of watching these fights. So
I feel like being upset for 25 minutes is worse than being upset for 4 minutes.
There's a slow realization when it's a 25 one. Like, oh no, this is going to end like this.
Wow.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to do something. Tell us in the comments what's a bigger upset, Silva versus Weidman or Adesanya versus Strickland. Tell us in the comments.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll make a clip out of that and put it on TikTok and stuff.
What's your number 3?
My number 3 is Serra versus GSP.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, that was... No one saw that coming.
Yeah.
Serra was just like... They had Serra against GSP just to kill time.
Yeah.
Before they moved on
what
to
that
GSP
brings up
start.
for me is, do you remember when Condit almost did the same? Carlos Condit to GSP.
Oh,
Head
right.
kicked him in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
And I was such a big fan of Condit. I was like so gassed. And then he just managed to hang in there. Amazing.
So
that's the sign of a true champion who can, people who can do that.
Man.
Sarah got that because he won the Ultimate Fighter, the Redemption one.
Yeah.
When they brought fighters who've been cut before to get a title shot.
Which adds to the upset.
Yeah.
Because it's like no one expects you to go from that situation, like Ultimate Fighter situation, to beating one of the most exciting champions in the company.
Yeah, so I have that as number 2. So number 3, I have Ronda versus Holly.
Oh, yeah.
Because Ronda vs. Holly, odds-wise, it's the most shocking of all time because Holly Holm was such a big underdog. But I don't think Holly Holm should have been an underdog. I think that she was just disrespected.
Right.
If you actually look at it, obviously, you know, after it's easy to say Holly Holm should have won that. But it's like, yeah, the way her skills were like made to beat Ronda. But it was so shocking at the time because Ronda just seemed invincible the way she was just beating girls. And when I watched it, I was actually like, I don't know, I was in disbelief.
Okay. So I've gone for number 2, Holly Holm versus Rousey. Because I feel like Rousey's dominance was more established at that point than GSP's was. We'd already seen GSP lose.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Whereas Rousey was still...
Rousey hadn't even lost a round, had she? She just dominated, armbarred everyone.
Rousey was at the time considered a person who could beat Floyd Mayweather.
I remember that.
I know, but the thing is, in hindsight, when you look at her career after, she's just like fell off completely.
Yeah, but we didn't know that at the time.
I know.
That's why I'm saying, like, at the time, upset.
We do.
I've changed my mind. Silva and Weidman, bigger upset. Changed my mind.
All right, fine.
My mind.
Also, I feel like Holly Holm is more a better fighter than Serra compared wise. Like, do you know what I mean?
Right.
That's why I'm saying like Serra's more shocking. Serra's more shocking because Serra being GSP.
But did we know that?
Would that ever happen again?
Holly Holm?
Sorry?
I guess we did know that about Holly.
We should have known that because she was a kickboxing champion, a boxing champion. But yeah, it's good that we're different on these actually.
Yeah.
What's your number 1? This is interesting.
Interesting if we've got the same one.
Yeah.
My number 1, Nunes versus Pena.
Oh, that was an honourable mention for me.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't hear that bit.
That was an honourable mention, yeah.
That's only an honourable mention for you?
Nah, I didn't think it was that great, to be honest.
I mean, Amanda Nunes, dominant for so long.
I know, but...
Pena comes out of nowhere.
I don't know. It was shocking, of course, but I just... At the time...
And she got stopped.
At the time, there was one more that was more shocking for me.
Who's your number 1?
Guess.
No, I can't guess.
Bisping Rockhold.
That's your number 1?
Yeah, number 1.
That's a terrible
How is that terrible number 1?
That is atrociously bad.
How is that bad?
Rockhold had like, how many title defenses? 1 at the time?
It doesn't matter. He beat Bisping.
That's a terrible pick.
You think it's a terrible pick?
For number 1 over all of those.
For me, watching that, I would never saw that coming.
All of these guys in our top 5 so far have been dominant people.
I know.
Rockhold at no point was dominant.
But for me, it was...
And Bisping was an established badass.
Yeah, but...
Bisping was never considered an easy
No
fight
one saw
for
that
anyone.
coming. First round knockout.
Everyone was writing off Bisping at that time.
Everyone wrote off Bisping. Bisping on 2 weeks' notice. So look, let's
that's a terrible. I'm sorry, I can't get behind that.
Let's break it down. Luke Rockhold just destroyed Chris Weidman, who was a previous like good champion.
Yeah.
Luke Rockhold beat Bisping pretty easily just a few years before. Bisping was just coming off wins, losses. He gets the fight on 2 weeks' notice. He's got like one eye, and he knocks him out in the first round. Who saw that coming? I'm not saying the win is more shocking than the others, but the way he did it, first round knockout versus Luke Rockhold, and it was meant to be the Luke Rockhold era. So for me as a fan watching that was the most shocking.
So you're taking that. Yeah. Let's look at all the other dominant champions in our list that were defeated. Amanda Nunes, basically unbeaten in title fights for like 11 fights or something ridiculous like that. Ronda Rousey, who was considered the second coming of like a Greek female goddess at the time. GSP was one of the biggest stars in the UFC at the time.
Yeah.
Anderson Silva, what was it, 16 fights?
Yeah.
And got through 3 generations of fighters. And Israel Adesanya, I can give or take that one, right? Bro, that's a bad pick in my opinion. Think it's a bad pick. This is my opinion. First of all, this is how I felt at the time.
Opinions
can be wrong.
With context as well. They all need context. So Anderson Weidman, I think okay, it was shocking. Of course, they're all equally shocking. But the way it was done, Anderson slipped wrongly. He got caught. Okay, Ronda, Holly Holm.
But you're different. You are describing upsets. Yeah. These are the definitions of upsets.
Okay.
So slip wrongly. Yeah, upset.
Oh, okay.
Because what is the odds? Let's say this isn't what happened, right? Actually, is what basically happened. His leg broke, right? Yeah. That was the second one.
Yeah, that doesn't count as upset. That's different. Yeah.
Like, what would be the odds? If someone could give you odds on...
Yeah, that's fair.
Anderson Silva getting knocked out by a wrestler.
Yeah. I think Bisping Rockhold, it might not be like number one, but for me, it was number one.
For you, was number one.
I did enjoy that a lot. I enjoyed that one.
That I can accept. For you, number one.
I remember out of all of these like ones I mentioned, I've jumped out of my seat a few times, but this one I was jumping out of my fucking sofa, high-fiving my brother and shit. It was a good time. So that's why I remember that one.
And you are British. I'm not British, so I can't relate.
Like Ronda vs. Holly Holm, I was shocked and stuff, but if you look in hindsight, Holly Holm should have won that. Anyway,
I don't think you can look at hindsight when you're assessing upsets, though.
I guess so.
Because we're talking about the feeling of the time, you know?
Okay, feeling of the time, yes. Maybe Anderson versus Weidman's number one then.
Yeah, I gotta say Anderson.
Feeling at the time, yes. Anderson.
Everyone literally thought Anderson was invincible.
Yeah, that's true then.
And also the way he fought is just so like...
Maybe I'm wrong for Nunes versus Pena as number one.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe Anderson versus Weidman should be number one.
I don't want to say why I don't want to put that, but...
I think because the era Anderson was in was so competitive as well. Yeah. It was like that whole division was like everyone was excited what happened. Everyone... There were so many characters, so many good fighters.
And people were desperate for Silva.
Yeah, and the argument with, sort of Nunes, there wasn't as competitive come up, do you know what I mean? So it's...
Well, again, wouldn't that also tie into the definition of an upset? No. Because these girls had no business beating her and one of them did. Weidman was considered a hot prospect at the time. He was 12-0. Whereas Pena, I feel like at the time we already knew what Pena was about because she was a UFC veteran, and still no one gave her a chance.
Yeah, true.
I don't know.
But then you also got to consider how like Anderson made everyone who was considered top tier look amateur.
Yes,
multiple times. So he created a bigger gap between a higher caliber of fighter, arguably.
So Silva versus Weidman is your number one.
I think so. I think random fans probably aware of that. More so than they're aware of Strickland.
If we're talking about random fans, if we're talking about the biggest upset, the biggest spectacle is Ronda versus Holly. That's the biggest like spectacle. Like, oh, Ronda, what, how? But like as me as a fan, Bisping versus Rockhold, like I can't think of a more hype moment. Me jumping out of my chair. But then again, I am a bit biased because I wanted Bisping to win, whereas I didn't want Weidman to beat Anderson, so I'll put that a bit further down. So I'm a bit biased. I'm a piece of shit. But yeah, like,
and you are ugly.
It's all, so it's all subjective. End of the day, but that's the. I don't think there's any right or wrong answer. Everyone's gonna have a different five.
There are definitely some wrong answers.
Bisping versus Rockhold's not that wrong though. How is Bisping versus Rockhold that?
Like a wrong answer would be like, I don't know, like John Jones beating DC. That would be a terrible one.
Yeah. Or like, but Bisping versus Rockhold, I don't think there's a problem with that. Thinking
good honourable mention, but it has to be an honourable mention because it's not a title fight. Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor won. That's
I was gonna say that is probably like number two if we're thinking at the time.
Yes. That probably actually made Nate's career, isn't it?
Oh,
it like revived his whole. I think he was sort of seen mid-tier sort of. Yeah. I think Nick Diaz at that point was bigger than he was because Nick Diaz was fucking great in his time. So
and got closer to what was a Strikeforce champion, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. Whereas Nate Diaz at that point hadn't even sniffed a title, got anywhere, and to this day he still hasn't even gotten anywhere near sniffing the title.
But yeah, if we're talking odds-wise, it is Ronda versus Holly. Because Ronda's the biggest underdog in history, I believe, or something like that.
Really?
Biggest underdog that won. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I was looking at some lists online, and someone put Demetrius Johnson versus Henry Cejudo 2 on their list. I can't get behind
No, that's too close.
Because Henry Cejudo is an Olympic gold medalist.
But then again, I do get it because he did get flatlined the first time.
Yeah, there is that.
So there is that. So that's why I put the Bisping.
I do think at the time there was a feeling that Henry Cejudo
could of course.
Do it. What about Barao?
Yeah,
he was undefeated, fucking godly, and then
that one kind
and then also his was so harsh as well because it was like 4 rounds and then a knockout and then the same thing happened in the rematch.
I said
just devastating.
I said TJ and Barao as an honourable mention. Yeah.
Oh, you did, yeah.
But what's it called? Also McGregor versus Aldo. I wouldn't say it was shocking or upset. It wasn't an upset, but it was shocking. Yeah.
I think it was an upset.
I think it was like even.
Nah, they were both on tears.
McGregor was probably a slight favourite maybe because of the hype. Yeah. But yeah.
That's an upset. There has to be like everyone writ off. I do agree with you, Fon. Like everyone writ off Michael Bisping. Yeah. They were like, he's a has-been. There's no way. Like they were acting like it wasn't even close.
It was the Luke Rockhold era. It was the Luke Rockhold era. It was meant to be the Luke.
You know, the UFC really did give Bisping a great little title run though. Yeah. Because they gave him people.
Yeah.
Anderson Silva got him the hype.
Yep. And then Dan Henderson, and then GSP. Like they really allowed him to make some money.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. I believe Weidman was actually meant to fight Rockhold at that time, and he pulled out. And then Bisping jumped in 2 weeks' notice, shocked the world. UFC 199.
Hopefully that'll be Darren Till one day.
Oh, bro.
Hopefully that'll be lovely.
But yeah, great debate, man. What do you guys think? That's the question.
Ah, look at you! Oh, look at this guy's a fucking professional.
Yeah. Oh, I like that debate.
Did you like it?
We changed our ways.
Yeah, we're trying to change the format a little bit of this podcast. Yeah.
Now, should we discuss Sean Strickland and the most unlikely UFC champions?
Okay.
I don't have this as like a top 5. This is more of just a discussion.
Go on.
So
some names.
So Sean Strickland, definitely, I don't think anyone saw that coming. Ranked number 5. Just the way he carries himself, I don't think anyone ever saw him becoming a champion. And also against such a dominant guy like Israel Adesanya. So maybe he is the most unlikely UFC champion. But also Forrest Griffin, big unlikely champion at the time. I don't think anyone saw that coming. He beat
Matt Serra, looked a little bit funny with the belt.
Yeah, Matt Serra, Forrest Griffin, Jermaine Durandamy.
Oh yeah,
she won the belt.
She even held the belt.
She won the belt and just said, "No, I don't want to fight Cyborg," and she went home.
Can you blame her? To be honest.
Yeah. So those 4, I guess.
John Jones. I'm joking. No, those
at the time, John Jones was like, he was 23. I don't think anyone really saw that coming.
You know what was an upset at the time, but people forget it was an upset.
What?
I don't think many people gave Kamaru Usman a shot at beating Tyron Woodley at the time, you know?
Yeah.
Not a major, but if we look back at the odds, I don't think I didn't favour Kamaru at the time.
I don't think I did either, but
people still felt like it was a bit of an unknown commodity at the time.
You remind me of another one, Frankie Edgar, BJ Penn the first time. I was shocked, like, as a kid watching that, and I wasn't watching Abu Dhabi, but it was in Abu Dhabi. I was like, what the hell? Frankie Edgar's just like, he won narrowly the first time. The second time, he outclassed him.
I felt weird when Max Holloway first won the belt.
What, Aldo?
It didn't feel right. Because in my head, Max Holloway was always just like the young guy, and then suddenly he's champion.
I think that one wasn't that shocking. I think kind of...
No, it wasn't shocking. It just felt weird. But him being
unlikely champion, seeing him as champion was a little bit weird. I do understand what you mean. Yeah. Yes.
What about RDJ?
RDJ? Rafael dos Anjos.
Yeah. That was a random title.
He had a whole career revival.
Yeah.
And Robbie Lawler as well. Same pattern.
Robbie Lawler's a good one.
Same pattern.
Robbie Lawler, unlike the UFC champion, because he got cut from the UFC. But yeah, RDJ, that was weird because he lost to Khabib, and because Khabib was injured for a bit, he ended up getting the belt.
It didn't really feel like a legitimate title reign.
No, who did he knock out for it? He knocked out
Benson Henderson.
Ben Henderson, yeah. That was a bit random. No, I don't think he beat. Was it Ben Henderson?
I'm pretty sure he's the first guy to knock out Henderson.
Potentially, yeah.
Benson Henderson and the toothpick. That was a weird thing that he would do.
Yeah, it was mad.
And then he lost to Eddie Alvarez, right?
He did. Yeah. And then Eddie Alvarez got battered by McGregor.
And all roads just led to Khabib being champion.
Yeah. I think everyone knew in the back of their heads that eventually Khabib would be champion. Yeah. It was just a matter of, at the time, it was just a matter of Khabib getting healthy.
Oh, so I think, RDJ beat Anthony Pettis for the belt in a 5-round decision. He did knock out Henderson, but that was before he became...
Would you argue that was a bit of an upset? Like, people were hyped for Pettis.
Yeah, I mean, it was shocking. Yeah, it was a big upset.
Because also, I remember I rewatched the one with, who's the dude he fought before RDJ? Nate Diaz and Nick Diaz's mate. Mexican dude. Oh. Boxer. Strikeforce champion.
Oh, Gilbert Melendez.
Yeah. And that was like a close fight, but I remember watching the commentary and it was sort of acting like... No, I thought Pettis was losing, and then he got him with the guillotine.
Yeah, I would say Melendez should have won that one.
Like, it looked like Pettis sort of scraped through, but because he had so much hype behind him, they were sort of guessing.
Well, he was like, they were gearing him up to be the new guy because he was young.
Oh, wait, sorry. What? Which fight are you discussing? Sorry, I just got a bit confused.
Gilbert Melendez versus Anthony Pettis.
No, Melendez, wasn't that a submission?
Yeah, it was submission.
Oh,
but I was saying
sorry.
It looked like Melendez was pressuring him the whole time, which set up the whole, this is how you beat Pettis.
So I thought you were talking about a different fight. I thought you were talking about Melendez getting robbed versus, who was it? Is it Henderson? Oh, I don't know.
You know, Volkanovski, when he first became champion, also felt a bit weird.
It was, yeah. It was kind of weird that he beat Matt.
And then we kind of realized how good he really is.
Yeah.
Over time. But there was a lot of pushback on Volkanovski when he first won the title. No one really wanted to accept it or legitimize it because Max Holloway was so loved.